Respectfully to NLE Choppa, I would just like to know, are you talking gangster shit that you want to get into it with this niggas? Cause I ain't gonna lie to you. I think Youngboy is attracted to niggas that's down to kill and die. I'm gonna be honest. Youngboy's attracted to niggas who's down to kill and die. He's still on that. Not saying he's sanctioning nothing, but those are the people he likes to surround himself with. I don't think NLE Choppa is talking that energy. I think he's talking about artistically.
NLE Choppa just released another diss track aimed at NBA Youngboy, and this time, it's becoming quite embarrassing. Folks, this Memphis rapper who once declared Youngboy his favorite artist is now relentlessly taking shots every few weeks, and the reason behind it will genuinely shock you. Beneath all the eccentric dance moves and biblical allusions, Choppa has been witnessing his career metrics plummet while Youngboy continues to succeed, and he's apparently concluded that the only way to garner attention is to keep disrespecting the king. The true story of how this former fanboy transformed into Youngboy's most aggravating opponent involves broken contracts, failed friendships, and a desperate bid for relevance that is more pathetic than genuinely threatened. What's good, everyone? We're about to delve deep into some genuine industry desperation that has been unfolding right before our eyes, and most people don't even realize the true nature of what's happening. Now, before we get into this mess, let me be completely straightforward with you all. Social media has been buzzing about Choppa's new track Hello Revenge, with people questioning why he won't leave Youngboy alone. But listen, we're about to distinguish fact from fiction, the authentic from the manufactured. October 2025, that's when the reality of what NLE Choppa was truly doing became undeniably clear. This Memphis rapper unexpectedly dropped his first Youngboy diss track, KO. And suddenly everyone was perplexed because these two hadn't had any conflict in years. Now, hold on before you start thinking this is some legitimate street beef. This is pure desperation masked as gangster rap. But here's where it gets really intriguing. The data doesn't lie, and Choppa has been struggling significantly. Look at the streaming figures, folks. Choppa's recent projects are barely scraping 1 million views, while Youngboy effortlessly pulls in tens of millions. His last few singles failed spectacularly, and he realized he couldn't keep remixing Shotta Flow for the remainder of his career. The algorithm rewards controversy, and Choppa discovered that mentioning Youngboy's name was like activating a cheat code for engagement. Every reaction channel, every hip-hop blog, every social media platform lights up when these two names are mentioned together. So, get this. Let's go back to 2018, when this entire narrative truly began. NLE Choppa was just a 15-year-old from Memphis trying to break into rap, and NBA Youngboy was his absolute favorite artist. We're talking about a genuine fan here. Choppa was remixing YB's songs, emulating his style, and was even constantly compared to him. This was not just casual admiration either. Choppa literally built the foundation of his early career using Youngboy's blueprint. The aggressive delivery, the street narratives, even the structure of his stage name. NLE, standing for No Love Entertainment, mirrored NBA, which stood for Never Broke Again. The influence was undeniable. In February 2019, during an interview with Hip Hop DX, when asked about his favorite artists, Choppa directly named NBA Youngboy, Meek Mill, and Lil Durk. That is documented proof of his respect, not some rewritten history. But his fan behavior extended beyond mere interviews. Choppa was actively studying Youngboy's entire catalog, mastering his flows, and even remixed Through the Storm, titling it Through the Rain, on his early mixtape. This was a young artist striving to capture the same compelling energy that made Youngboy so captivating. The Memphis scene differed from Baton Rouge, but Choppa observed how Youngboy's raw authenticity resonated with fans worldwide. He yearned for that same connection, that same ability to transform pain into platinum success. But here's where things get interesting. March 2019, tensions first started to brew when Choppa's associates went on Instagram Live, speaking recklessly about Youngboy, labeling him a fake and questioning his street credibility. Choppa tried to de-escalate the situation, urging them to calm down because he was live with 2,000 viewers. The precise words were wild. One of his friends called Youngboy a lame and asserted he wasn't a real killer. This was disrespectful on multiple levels, especially coming from individuals associated with someone who claimed to be a fan. Youngboy caught wind of this disrespect and went on his own livestream to address it. He declared, "Ain't no killer," and made it clear he would not tolerate such disrespect. But here's the crazy part. Choppa immediately went back on live, attempting to squash the beef, stating Youngboy was his favorite rapper and he wanted to make music with him. This was the first indication that Choppa was torn between his street image and his genuine admiration for Youngboy. He couldn't control his crew's words, yet he also didn't want to lose his idol's respect. The damage, however, was already done. In Youngboy's world, respect is paramount, and allowing your associates to disrespect someone shows weakness. This planted the initial seed of distrust. In 2019, when Youngboy was incarcerated for a probation violation, Choppa literally created an entire song titled Free Youngboy, expressing love and support. This wasn't some insincere industry move. This was genuine admiration from a young rapper who looked up to YB as his inspiration. The track even sampled Youngboy's Free Dog beat, demonstrating the depth of the influence. But listen, this is where the story goes beyond mere fan worship. See, Choppa began to operate differently once he achieved some success. June 19, 2019. He was involved in an altercation with Quando Rondo in Houston, and that's when everything changed permanently. According to Quando's account, he was at a venue minding his own business when some of Choppa's associates approached him with hostility. The tension was immediate. This was no accidental encounter or misunderstanding. Choppa's people came looking for trouble. When Choppa arrived with his crew, the situation quickly escalated. Quando threw a Hennessy bottle at one of them, cutting his face open and leaving blood everywhere. Security intervened, but the damage was done, both to the man's face and to any chance of peace. Quando immediately went live afterward, showing no remorse and actually boasting about the incident. He claimed Choppa's friend needed stitches from his forehead to his nose, and offered $40,000 for Choppa to post his injured homie. But here's the most embarrassing part. After all that tough talk and street posturing, Choppa was sliding into Quando's DMs, trying to make peace. Quando exposed these messages, showing Choppa writing, "I don't know if you with me, but I just want to tell you keep turning up and stay safe out there." Now, in the streets and the industry, we understand that you can't be friendly with someone's enemies and expect to remain friends. But Choppa's situation was different because he attempted to play both sides while publicly associating with Youngboy's biggest adversaries. The real shocker though, Choppa started becoming close with King Von and Lil Durk's camp. This wasn't just casual industry networking. Von and Choppa were regularly spending time together, playing video games, building a genuine friendship while both were on house arrest. When Von tragically died in November 2020, after that altercation with Quando Rondo's crew, Choppa posted emotional tributes calling Von his brother. The pain was real, but so were the implications of that loyalty. January 2022, that's when everything exploded. Youngboy was promoting his Colors mixtape and released Bring the Hook, where he dissed King Von. The lyrics were harsh. YB was speaking ill of a deceased man, which crosses significant lines in hip-hop culture. Academics tweeted about YB being on Demon Time, and Lil Reese responded, stating that wasn't demon time, just regular rap. Here's where Choppa made his critical error. He replied to Reese's tweet, saying, "I stamp that," officially taking a side in a conflict that initially had nothing to do with him. This was not just a casual endorsement. In the context of that beef, stamping Reese's statement meant agreeing that Youngboy was wrong for dissing Von, which essentially meant aligning with Chicago against Baton Rouge. 2 days after that tweet, Youngboy dropped No Like I Know. And fam, that track was different. This wasn't merely a diss, this was a death threat put to music. YB openly discussed how Choppa's mother would be devastated if he decided to kill him for choosing sides. Let me break down some of these lyrics for you all, because they were genuinely chilling. Youngboy said, "Your mama going to be crying when she see you in that coffin." That's not typical rap beef. That's a direct promise. He referenced how Choppa used to call YB his favorite rapper, warning him to stay in his lane or risk getting his face split. The track mentioned Choppa's healthy eating phase, dismissing it as fake, and even alluded to his relationship with Youngboy's ex-girlfriend, Young Blazion. YB was attacking him from every possible angle: personal, professional, and psychological. The most chilling part was when YB sang in that haunting tone, "I want your soul," while reminding Choppa that he would die for choosing sides. This was psychological warfare disguised as a song, and it worked because Choppa went completely silent. But the threats didn't cease there. Youngboy mentioned Choppa's cars, his Instagram posts, even his mother who manages his career. He was letting Choppa know that he was observing everything, and nothing was off limits. The interlude was particularly menacing, with YB saying he was surprised Choppa's parents weren't talking him out of this beef. That's when you know it's truly serious, when someone is threatening your family's peace of mind. For those of you who might not understand the industry game, let me explain. When a major artist like Youngboy disses you with that level of intensity, you have three options: respond immediately, quietly accept the loss, or vanish entirely from the conversation. Choppa chose option 3 for 2 full years. This silence spoke volumes. If Choppa was genuinely committed to that lifestyle, he would have retaliated instantly. Instead, he withdrew, focused on his spiritual journey, began advocating healthy eating and meditation, essentially everything contrary to the street image he once projected. During this period, Choppa was clearly impacted by the diss. He completely altered his public persona, discussing healing, positivity, and moving away from negative energy. While this was likely beneficial for his mental well-being, it also demonstrated that Youngboy's words had a tangible effect. The transformation was dramatic. The same person who once spoke tough and embraced street politics suddenly became a wellness guru, promoting natural remedies and meditation. Fans observed the change, and many respected his personal growth, but it also raised questions about his authenticity. Meanwhile, Youngboy continued to flourish. His career continued to ascend, his fan base expanded, and he never mentioned Choppa again. YB's silence was, in fact, more damaging than any subsequent diss could have been. But here's what's truly calculated about this entire situation. The timing of Choppa's return to dissing. 2024 arrives, and suddenly this individual remembers he has a beef. Let's examine what changed. OIDA, Youngboy just concluded his Ma I Got a Family tour, reportedly grossing $75 million and selling out arenas nationwide. His name consistently trends on social media, his music videos garner massive numbers, and he is arguably the most talked about rapper in hip-hop right now. Meanwhile, Choppa has been struggling to maintain relevance. His recent projects are receiving lukewarm reception, his streaming numbers are declining, and he cannot replicate the success of Shotta Flow. No matter how many times he attempts to remix it or create sequels, the numbers unequivocally tell the story. Choppa's last few releases are barely reaching 1 million views, while Youngboy regularly pulls in 10 to 20 million. His Spotify monthly listeners are decreasing, while YB's remain consistent in the tens of millions. Now, this isn't just about bruised egos or street credibility. This is about statistics, algorithms, and career survival. When Choppa released KO in October 2024, it attracted more attention than anything he had dropped in months. The YouTube comments, the reaction videos, the social media buzz, all because he mentioned Youngboy's name. The evidence is clear in the data. KO likely garnered more views in its first week than his previous 3 regular songs combined. The algorithm thrives on controversy, and Choppa realized that insulting the most talked about rapper in hip-hop was his ticket back to relevance. Look at Hello Revenge. All the dance moves, biblical references, and Michael Jackson impersonations cannot conceal the fact that this is manufactured drama. Choppa is trying so hard to make this artistic and profound, but it's really just desperation with a budget. The video opens with Genesis 1:1, attempting to frame this as some spiritual conflict between good and evil. He's quoting scripture while performing choreographed dance moves, which creates an odd disconnect between the message and the presentation. In the track he states, "They say, why be better who I'm the proof that ain't no statement and put top in the lake." These are direct jabs at Youngboy, but delivered in such a theatrical manner that it's difficult to take seriously. He's even placing billboards in Baton Rouge, attempting to elicit a reaction, but Youngboy has already made it clear he won't respond to people he deems unimportant. In his Zero IQ freestyle, YB said, "Respond to him?" I said, "No." That is the ultimate dismissal. The desperation is evident when you observe the pattern. First, KO. Then, immediately, Hello, Revenge. Just weeks later. This isn't an organic feud. This is content creation disguised as street politics. This entire situation represents a larger issue in hip-hop culture. We've transitioned from authentic conflicts based on genuine issues to fabricated controversies designed to manipulate algorithms. Artists are discovering that negative attention still counts as attention, and attention equates to money. Consider how the industry has reacted to this. Youngboy team, including his mother, has essentially dismissed Choppa as irrelevant. His mother even commented that she would be upset if this was coming from someone who mattered, not someone people genuinely don't listen to. Reaction channels are treating this as entertainment rather than a serious beef. Comment sections are filled with people mocking Choppa instead of taking him seriously. Even his own fans are questioning his strategy. But here's what's truly interesting. This strategy might actually backfire on Choppa in the long run. By presenting himself as the desperate one seeking attention, he is damaging his own brand, and fans value authenticity, and this is clearly not it. The numbers also support this. While his diss tracks might initially grab attention, they are not translating into sustained success for his regular music. It's like a sugar rush, temporary energy followed by a crash. At the end of the day, NLE Choppa's situation isn't just about seeking conflict with Youngboy. It's about a former fan who realized his idol became his only viable path back to relevance. And that is actually quite sad when you consider it. The transformation from genuine admiration to manufactured antagonism demonstrates how the industry can corrupt relationships and turn inspiration into sheer desperation. Choppa went from creating tribute songs to making desperate attempts to start a beef. And the culture sees right through it. This entire timeline proves that sometimes the biggest adversary to an artist's career is their own desperation. Instead of focusing on producing better music or forging his own path, Choppa chose to chase controversy, and it's making him appear weak rather than strong. The psychological aspect is also fascinating. Imagine idolizing someone, then having them threaten your life on a track, then remaining silent for years only to re-emerge when your career needs a boost. That is a complex emotional journey that likely impacts how Choppa perceives himself as an artist. The real question is, how long can you continue to diss someone who refuses to acknowledge your existence? Choppa's strategy might gain him temporary attention, but it isn't building him a sustainable career. Eventually, people grow grow tired of manufactured drama, and then what remains? Youngboy's silence is actually the most potent response he could give. By not engaging, he is conveying that Choppa isn't worth his time or energy, which is probably more damaging than any diss track could be. This situation also highlights the distinction between authentic street beef and industry-manufactured controversy. Real beef carries consequences, genuine emotions, and significant stakes. This feels more like a marketing campaign that spiraled out of control. What are your thoughts on Choppa's repeated attempts to get Youngboy's attention? And do you believe this strategy will be effective in the long term? Do you view this as a genuine conflict or simply career desperation? Is there any way for Choppa's credibility to recover after this blatant pursuit of fame? Share your thoughts in the comments and watch the video on screen dissecting Youngboy's complete dismissal of all this fabricated drama.